You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for joining the show, as always. Without you guys, we couldn't do it at all. Please refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, the big LinkedIn newsletter, the LinkedIn 130,000 group over there, and all that crazy place to run the internet. Today we have amazing gentlemen on the show, and as always, we're bringing you the smartest minds, the CEOs, the billionaires, the Pulitzer Prize winners, the people who bring you their stories of life and their learnings of life. Their learnings of life? Something like that. And share it with you so that you can improve the quality of yours and bask in what we like to call the Chris Voss Show glow. Today we have Steve Westfeld on the show with us today. He is an AI guru. We're going to be talking about his stories, and I think you're going to be amazed because he's got some interesting stories. Steve Westfeld is on the show with us today. He lost $75,000 in a sports handicapping scam. Fortunately for Steve, he was an expert AI developer who now had a chip on his shoulder. He would spend the next year while working a day job creating an AI sports prediction algorithm to get his money back, and it worked. Steve, it sounds like this should be a movie. Steve was able to recover most of his losses from the scam before being blacklisted by 3 sports books for winning too much. I hate when Vegas does that too. At that point, Steve decided to start selling data from his algorithm to subscribers, and boom, Leans AI was created. Leans AI has grown into the leading AI sports handicapping firm and consistently beats the sports books in the major 4 American sports. It's learned hundreds of active subscribers. It now has hundreds of active subscribers and has achieved incredibly fast growth from a transparent approach to the algorithm's performance and the success of the AI algorithm. Steve is now one of the world's leading authorities in AI sports analytics and sports betting trends and strategies, and loves writing in third person. Welcome to the show, Steve. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. I like that end bit there. He writes in third person. I talk in third person myself sometimes, but I have 6 personalities, so it's actually just one of them. So welcome to the show. Give us your .coms again so people can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, the website that our platform is called leans.ai, leans.ai, and that's kind of the central place for everything that I've got going on right now.
There you go. So this is an incredible story. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of time till AI is being utilized in so many different ways that it can beat sports betting. So there you go. Tell us. Well, give us a 30,000 overview. What happens at leans.ai?
Yeah. So we've created an algorithm that analyzes thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of data points on every game that's going on in American sports. So basketball, we do NBA and college basketball. Football, we do NFL and college football. And then hockey, baseball. There's one other sport I'm forgetting because there's 6 of them.
I mean, you name most of the ones that matter, really.
Basketball. But yeah, all the big sports. We analyze data on every single game that goes on every day. And the algorithm what it's doing is it's trying to create a win probability for each team and then a cover probability against a line. So against a spread or against an over-under line. And then so it's analyzing all these games, and what it's looking for is places where the true game analytics don't match where Vegas has the line set. And when the analytics are pulled one way or another, so maybe there's a 54% lean one side of a spread, we call that a lean, and then we sell that data to our subscribers. And so we've we've tried to create a really transparent approach where we provide all the data that the algorithm, all the win losses that the algorithm has done, so people can see exactly how it's doing and what it's good at and what it's bad at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also do a 30-day free trial, so people could sign up and try it out totally free for 30 days, see how it does, get a feel for it, and then decide if they want to continue after that point.
There you go. Using AI to beat the man or beat the bookie, I guess technically. So tell us about this journey and what got you down this road. Were you always into sports betting? How did you end up, losing the money, and what led you up to that?
I'll jump back even before this. I realized I was a gullible person when I walked into the mall. This is probably 15 years ago, and I was trying to buy a pair of socks. And I walked out with a water bottle and a year's supply of hand salt from the Dead Sea. And I
I think we've all done that, though.
I was thinking back on it. I was like, man, I can be so gullible sometimes, but this stinking slick salesman in one of those little mall kiosks, he starts out, he's like, hey, nice shoes. Do you moisturize your hands? And then, goes through the whole gamut of wash your hands in this bowl, and you see the black water come off. And the next thing you know, you're spending $150 on hand salt to the Dead Sea. So that's my propensity. And I fell into exactly the same thing with sports handicapping. So when sports betting was legalized in my state, I think it was 2020 or 2021, I was brand new to it, really didn't know much about it, and was just checking it out. And I discovered the sports handicapping market kind of by accident, where I was just looking for picks or for data on how the experts thought games were going to trend. Mm-hmm. And I found this firm that it sounded too good to be true, but I didn't know that at the time because I was brand new into sports handicapping and sports betting. So I subscribed for their initial service. It was a couple $1,000 to kind of get their entry level picks. And it did really, really well for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I was winning a lot of money, and I was like, holy smokes, there's something to this. You could just pay these guys to get their data, and then you could basically make a living at this. Uh-huh. So they, of course, they knew they were on a hot run. And so they brought in their sales guy, and he pulled out all the stops on selling me on, there's this exclusive club, and there's only a dozen people that we even give access to. And it's insider information, and all of whatever words they wanted to use.
Sounds like the movie lines from the movie The Grifter. I think it was.
Yeah. So I didn't know any better, and I was already up and I was already winning. So I decided, I had money set aside, and I was like, you know what, if this continues and if what they're claiming is true, I'm going to be in great shape here. So I went ahead and paid. I think it was all said and done, it was close to $75,000. It was hovering right around there.
Was that just to get in the club, or was that to do betting too?
That was just to get in the club. So that was just for access to their data. But I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, and so you don't just drop that kind of money. So I ran all kinds of math and all kinds of calculations based on what I had seen from kind of their 3-week run and what they were claiming. And I was like, I'm going to make this back in like a year and a half, and then everything is going to be profit after that. And so I drop all this money, and they're claiming to win close to 70% against the spread, which in hindsight is totally insane. Like there's way too many variables for that to even be close to true. Mm-hmm. But that was their claim. And so, the wins stopped coming, and it started doing bad, and it started hovering in the mid 50%, and then closer to 52%. And then a couple years in, it ended up basically being kind of a 50-50 type of deal, which is just it's ridiculous to think that I had spent all that money.
Yeah. And
so I had to figure out a way to get my investment back. And so I was like, I can do this stinking better than these guys. Like I'm smarter at analyzing data and combining data into algorithms. And so I built this algorithm that we've since labeled as, or we've named Remy. And we started Remy back in the fall of 2021. We were coding on it a long time before that. and added on more sports, and then started adding in more data. And long story short, we found out that Remy's pretty dang good at predicting the outcomes of games.
Yeah.
And so along that journey, I started winning enough to where I had sports books start. I don't want to say blacklist, but they started capping how much I could wager. So I could wager 4,000 or 5,000, and then I could wager 1,000, and then I could wager 500, and then I could wager 100, and then I could wager 10. And obviously, if I'm playing $10 or $1, it's not even worth my time to do anything with it. And so that happened with 3 different sports books. And I realized I was like, at some point you run out of sports books because they realize you're pretty stinking good at this. And so I decided to start selling this data on our website. And so we created Leans AI, and here we are.
There you go. Now, the company that originally sunk you for 75 grand, did you ever get back at them with winning on their book, or?
No, I was out that money. And it's one of the things I still deal with in the industry where I'm at now is most of the sports handicapping industry is full of crooks and full of cheats who will say whatever they want to say. They'll claim whatever statistics they want to do. They'll take screenshots of whatever winning bets that they had. Yeah. And they only present the glamorous parts of the picture, which is and it's an alluring thing to be a part of. And so I decided with our company, I was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to publish every single past pick that we have, win, loss, or otherwise, so people can go back and they can see how it's doing. And a lot of times we'll see people come on and they'll email us and they're like, it's refreshing to see someone who's actually honest with this, because the whole rest of the industry is just a bunch of crooks that are trying to take people's money and making realistic claims about how good they are.
Yeah. It's interesting how the gambling business would be so seedy.
Funny how that works.
There's not a history of that going back to mob bookies. And so now you're transparent. You open up to everybody, and now you're kind of playing the game back on them. So I love this idea. AI. Everyone's always like, "Hey, what do we do with AI?" There's so many different things. But I love this idea of how it can be played against the man or against the bookies, or is there any chance that are you able to use this in any of the sports books for
you are
or anything?
You are, yep. Yeah, because we're not doing anything that's against their terms of service, and we're not doing anything that's live betting, and there's no like live algorithm betting or anything like that. It's all done earlier in the day, long before the games start. And what happens, and the advantage that we've created is that a lot of times people think that Vegas is trying to pick a line that they think is going to be the outcome of the game. So, pick the Denver Nuggets to win by 5 points. What they're actually trying to do is split money. So if they can get equal money on both sides of that line, then they take their juice or their 9% on spread bets and they walk away with 9% regardless of the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
And so what happens is people start betting, and they're emotional bettors, and they start pulling lines one way or another. And all of a sudden you get an instance where the line that Vegas is trying to keep to split money is different than where the true game analytics should be. And in that gap or that lean to one side of the line is where we've created our entire advantage.
That's crazy. So did you grow up and study to be an engineer, to be a data engineer, or
software engineer? Yep.
Software engineer, yeah. So this is right up your alley, and you're just like, I understand how this stuff works, and I can build a better model. And I love how. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that the other thing that is a huge, I guess, thing that we've uncovered is AI takes the emotion out of betting, and by transitive takes the bias out of it. So if I'm watching a game and I'm looking at two teams and I'm trying to maybe place a bet on one side or the other, I'm using like my own history and my own experiences and my whole own kind of track record to place that bet, and it's all biased one way or another. And like, as a human, I don't have all the information. I don't have accurate memories sometimes of when this bet was a good idea and when this bet was a bad idea, and the whole thing is biased. And so the AI is able to strip the human emotion out of it entirely and just look at pure data, pure analytics. And like it's not omniscient, it doesn't know everything, but based on the data it does know, we've seen that over time it tends to be more accurate than an emotional human better.
There you go. Yeah, because when you judge not using logic and reason, you judge on emotion. I mean, you're fallible.
Yep.
And then AI can scrape so much data on a massive scale in comparative analysis, I guess.
Yep.
You just probably can't even compete with the human brain at this point.
Yeah, it's one of the challenges we have is we're using data to try to predict human behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a catch-22 because humans can kind of do whatever they want, but at the same time they tend to be very repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the saying history tends to repeat itself, if you put humans in the same environment, like on a court or on a football field, and then you put them under the same rules, and then you have officials there that are their entire job is to enforce those rules and ensure that those rules are followed, and then you put a clock on it, or in baseball outs, you've constrained this whole experiment to a very, very repeatable type thing. And so it's amazing how often trends tend to just repeat themselves again and again and again within this kind of confined thing called a sport.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And AI can probably see it and gather it and analyze it and compile it far better than we can, because it can take up it can just suck in so much data, and then unemotionally. So
Yep. And it is so good at identifying non-intuitive trends.
Really?
And that's another big advantage. And it'll pop something out sometimes that just doesn't make sense at all. And when we give the data to subscribers, we tell them, we're not telling you how to bet. We're not telling you what to do. Like, you are getting this data and you can do whatever you want with it in your own strategies. But here's what it is. But sometimes it'll pop up stuff that just does not make sense at all. And you're like, that has to be wrong. And we've actually had to put, safeguards in place in our company to make sure that people aren't like vetoing the algorithm, because sometimes it is shocking how it will think something's going to trend one way and everyone else is like, no, there's no way that's going to happen. And then it ends up trending that way.
Wow.
It's wild.
I wonder if it could call games like last night my Raiders versus the Chargers had this fucking crazy blowout game that I'm just like, you guys decide to start playing now? Game 15 or whatever? Like, it's so hard to be a Raiders fan, man, for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean, can it predict stuff like that? That just seems like an anomaly? Wow.
Yep. Well, no. So I'm sorry. So last night, Remy had a 54% chance of that game going under. So under, I think the line was 34.5. So it was a really low line, but you look at it, and the previous week, Oakland got completely shut out at home.
Yeah, they got killed.
And the Chargers put up 7 or 10 points against the Broncos, whatever it was. Yeah. So anyway, it's not right. And one of the things that is probably the hardest for us to communicate is, it's like, if our algorithm is wrong 45% of the time, you're doing fantastic as a sports bettor, which is crazy, but it's all against the spread. And so, it's I think in order to cover the juice that Vegas takes off of spreads and over under bets, I think it's like 52.4% you have to win. And so if you go from 52.4 up to 55%, that's 3% where you have a margin. And then you think about the tilt Vegas has on a roulette wheel, where that empire of Vegas was built on 1% here and 1% there and 4% here, and and it's a slow advantage. And so as soon as you have a system that can kind of take that advantage back from the house, it's fun.
I'll bet. Yeah. And I've lived in Vegas for 20 plus years. I've known my share of gamblers, and they always claim to have a system. They're always like, yeah, I got a system.
Yep.
And I'm always like, yeah, what is it? And they'll tell me, and I'm just like, that sounds like it's a turd of shit. And I mean, these are guys who are carrying around like a 2-inch thick receipts of all their losses so they
Yep.
can write them off every
Yep.
year.
Yep.
And they always tell you when they win, "Hey Chris, I won $4,000
Yep.
on the Royal over at the par," and you're like, "Oh yeah, so that's great. You're gonna pay me back the money you owe me now." Um, and everyone else you borrowed from for the last 3 months.
Yep.
Um, and but what's funny is they never tell you about the losses.
No.
They're always emotional.
Nope.
They never count the losses.
Yep.
And you're like, "But didn't you lose 20 grand last week on that?" "No,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Don't-
up 4." "No, you're not up 4. From the math you told me, you're down 50."
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so what? You won 4 grand on the thing, man. You're still so far fucking down. It's not even
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Like, we would go to like, you can go to the bars there, and they have the table gamblers where you're sitting at the bar, and they serve you free drinks and stuff. But you have to pay for like lunch, and so we'd pay for lunch, and it was fairly expensive, and they give you free drinks, and so my friends would be like, "This is the best deal ever." You get food, and if you gamble right, you get a free lunch, and I'm like, I don't know about all this. And so I tried it a couple times. I'm like, I'll put $20 in the can and see how it works out. And sometimes I walk away like that $20 lunch ended up costing me like $50. And I'm like, and they're like, "But you don't understand." I'm like, "No, I think I do. I understand math very well.
Yeah.
I've run a business. I've done P&L accounting. I understand profit and loss. But you,
Yep.
on the other hand, are degenerate. So there you go." But yeah, this is I've seen that all through Vegas. Everybody's got a system, but you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of emotional, low data betting.
One of the things I've seen is if you talk about parlays, which for I assume most people know what a parlay is, but it's kind of stringing a series of picks together, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks together, and so they all have to win, and then you have a huge payout. So those are super attractive to sports bettors because I can bet $5 on this parlay and I can win $2,000 or something.
Oh wow!
And so depending on how many teams are in there,
Yeah, I'm in the wrong
what
business.
happens, and the line that I've heard more often than not is I was one game away. Like if this team had just covered, or if that team had just covered, and even in that statement, say you have an 8-team parlay, you're and you win 7 out of 8, which is still crazy good. You're not even considering the 3 teams that shouldn't have won but did on a fluky thing or whatever. You're just focused on the one team that didn't win and kept you from your $2,000. And that's exactly where Vegas wants you to live on parlays. Is they want you to be one loss away, and it's just the psychological of, the next time I'll get this other thing or that other thing, and it's a fantastic way to light money on fire.
There you go. I mean, what's the old lines from Casino? The longer we can get you to play,
Yep.
the more you'll eventually lose. You can get on a hot streak. I've done it, and you get on a hot streak, and you're like, "Hey, I'm rock and roll," but I've had so many friends that were gamblers that walk into a casino and their eyes glaze over, and they become in a trance. Yeah. And I'm like, "Hey man, are you still here?" And they're like, "The roulette wheel." And I'm like looking around the thing, and I'm like, "Hey man, look at the opulence of this casino, at the Bellagio or any one of the beautiful casinos. I'm like, look at the opulence of what went in here. Do you know who paid for this? Losers.
Yep.
People who lost. So, I'm thinking, just looking around, I'm thinking the odds are against you around here.
No joke.
But
no joke.
They love what they do. But
yeah.
So I love the AI, is serving, because there's all this stuff like, what are we doing with AI? People are writing books and doing all sorts of stupid shit with it.
Yeah.
God knows what.
Stupidity.
Yeah. But here it's being turned against the bookers, against the man, against the Vegas. The problem with Vegas, I think that always bugs me, is if you win too much, they'll kick you out and ban you.
So, I almost get sick to my stomach when I think about that, because they are absolutely willing to take every freaking cent you have to line their own profits. But as soon as you start doing good against them, they will cut you off like it's nothing.
Oh yeah. I've been on blackjack tables with guys who are really good, And the pit boss will come up and try and get them off their run and try and get them off the table. And they'll be like, do you want? I remember one guy, I was sitting with him, and it was late at night, and he was just running the table. It was crazy how he was doing blackjack. I mean, he'd be all in 1 second, next hand nothing. It was just crazy. I don't even know what system he was on.
Yeah.
But the pit boss came over and was trying to get him off the table. Hey, would you like free dinner? And would you like a hotel? We know you're running hot. We'd love to have you come back tomorrow and play some more. And he was just trying to do everything. And you know what the guy said to him? It was fucking balls out. He goes, you know that motorcycle that's in the lobby you're giving away? He goes, yeah. He goes, give me the motorcycle and I'll quit playing the table. Fucking balls, dude. To the pit boss. And I'm just sitting there playing blackjack going, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, we can't do that. I can't do that. He goes, okay, well, leave me alone. I'm going to keep playing here. I'm going to keep fucking running your dealer here, man. And he did. And he just kept hammering him. And the pit boss kept coming over. He goes, give me the motorcycle and I'll get off the table. And it was just the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen in life. But
I had it was slightly different, but I was, when I was playing a lot before I started getting banned, I had become a VIP at a lot of these sports books. And so they want to give you all the perks and all the benefits and, oh, can we take you to a suite at this NBA game or whatever. And so at one point I had gotten one scheduled. So it was me and 3 friends and they were taking us to a suite. And it was a nice. I've been to a lot of suites. This one was unlike any I've been to. It was only the 4 of us, and they were like these giant comfy chairs that you sit in. Yeah. It was unbelievable. So we had this thing on the books, and like 4 days before, they realized that I was winning too much, so they stripped my premium status. Wow. And I texted my rep, and I was like, "Hey, man, I just lost my VIP status here." And of course, they're not giving me any answers as to why. Yeah. It's like, "Are we still good for the game Tuesday?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're good." So we showed up at the game, and by this time they were limiting me to like $20 a bet or something. What? And I was like, dude, I cannot lose my money back to you if I'm going to have these restrictions. And he's like, yeah, he's like, you've been doing good, but no problem. I'll get it taken care of. I'll get everything raised. And so we went to the game. We had a great time. I kept winning. I kept betting. I emailed him back a week later. I was like, dude, I'm still limited to $20 a bet. Like, what are you doing? And I have never heard back from him, never talked to him since. They just
ghosted you, basically.
They're just like, all right, this guy's won too much. So
that's crazy.
See ya.
Yeah. It's people who can play well, but I think what is it? Atlantic City has it so that if you're winning, they can't kick you out. I think if I recall.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe they have the opposite rule of Vegas, where if you're winning, they still have to keep taking your bets. So, but there's always the point where you're gonna make a mistake, I suppose. So, what advice do you give to new sports bettors?
Don't.
Keep your day job.
Some people, or one of the questions I get a lot is how do you become a professional sports bettor or make a living from it? And I would say I think it's possible for a short period of time, but at some point you run out of books. Like if you're really that good and you're winning that much money, at some point you run out of books, and they all cut you off. And so, and you can only play that for so long. So I don't think it's a good, it can be fun for a while or for a couple of years, but I don't know that that's a huge income generator long term. And you can have, you can just have a freaking bad streak where you everything's right. You've got the analytics behind you, and you just have a bad run and you wipe out half your bankroll or more on a bad 2 or 3 week run. And that can really, really set you back. But what I would say is it's the best possible way to start would be to start at incredibly low amounts. Like, cause they'll even let you bet less than $1. So you can put in $10 and you could play for a year betting 2 cents here and 4 cents there. Cause the thing is everything's scalable. And so, or maybe put in $100 and, if I'm betting 50 cents here and 20 cents there and 10 cents there, and I do it for a whole year, I'm still emotionally invested and I'm still in the process. But if I lose, I'm out $100, big deal.
Yeah.
But if I win, I've created a system, or I'm using a system that's winning. Well, like that's still going to be around the next year, and then I can start to up it from $100 to maybe I put in $1,000 and see how that goes. So I would say start off with incredibly low amounts, and I would just the other big thing I've seen too is just pacing and like making sure that it doesn't affect your normal life, because it's super fun, but it also can be addicting watching freaking North Dakota State at Bemidji State, by 32.5. Like nobody cares about that game other than the people that have money on it. And it's a huge time suck away from like your life and your family and your job and whatever else. And so being able to bound it and just say, I'm only going to bet this number of games per day, or I'm only going to bet a couple days a week, or whatever to create, or I'm just going to bet and not watch the games, because it can definitely be addicting. But beyond that, I would say get a system too. It's like emotion can be your friend, but over the long term, emotion is probably more your enemy, in the sense that we talked about just bias and not remembering all the facts one way or the other. So trying to find a system or a good handicapper that can kind of show the ropes on one way or the other. I would say it's another great way to start out.
There you go. And my advice would be too, if you have an addictive personality, don't gamble. Like see a fucking therapist.
Yeah.
Like I lived in Vegas for 20 plus years, man. I've seen what degenerate gambling addicts do. In fact, when I first moved there, I remember passing it. I came from Utah, where you could pass checks. This is back in the 90s, and it was like, no, you buy gas, write a check, and I moved to Vegas, and I got hired to be the CEO of this mortgage company that we're going to build by these investors. And so we signed the deal, and they gave me a check to start it off. And so I went down to the bank, and I hadn't opened an account there or anything yet, because I just moved to Vegas for it. And I was trying to cash their check at the thing, and it really wasn't that big. It was just a starting stipend, like here's some money to get settled. And they ran me through hell to cash that check. And I was like, what is going on? It's a fucking check. Like, this is your bank. If they have the money in the bank because it's right here. What the fuck? And they go, well, you don't have an account with us. And, they had to call the guys. It was kind of embarrassing. I was like, what the fuck? And they go, well, are you from here? And I go, no, I'm not. I'm from Utah. And they go, oh, she says, what we have here in the state is a lot of degenerate gamblers, and they'll steal checks and do everything. Yep. And she goes, the one thing about addicted gamblers is they don't die of the addiction they're doing. Like if you do meth, cocaine, heroin, alcohol, it'll eventually kill you.
Yep.
But addictive gamblers live forever. She's like,
that's true.
Fuck. That's good to know, man. I've had so many of my buddies, they date some chick, and she's like an addicted gambler. She wants to go to the casino every weekend. And then she'll blow her whole paycheck, and she'll be like, well, do you have any money? And he's like, honey, we got to pay like the rent and everything. And she's like, just give me a few dollars. I've had them steal their bank accounts, checkbooks.
Oh, buddy. Yeah.
So if you're addictive, you might want to stay away from it.
I totally agree.
Yeah. What are the best sports to bet on? I was going to joke that my Raiders probably might not be the best sport to bet on, unless you want to, I don't know, bet them short or whatever it's called when you lose every year.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee.
Yeah. Well, one of the most interesting sports that I have been asked to create an algorithm for was cockfighting in Philadelphia. And
that's still done well.
Apparently so. I had somebody reach out on the support email, and they said, hey, do you have an algorithm that can predict cockfighting? I have a live stream. So
I have an OnlyFans that does that, but it's completely different, and you may not want to run an AI thing on it.
Right. Yeah. I have not perfected the cockfighting algorithm. But yeah, as far as sports, so one of the interesting things is tied into we call it score fidelity. I'm sure there's other terms for the same concept, but it's basically the scoring mechanisms of the game.
Mhm.
And so if you look at hockey, for instance, hockey might have 5 goals scored in a game or 6 goals scored in a game. And if you have somebody that scores a goal at the last minute and kicks it from 5 to 6, then there was like a 20% chance of that scoring play changing the outcome of the game.
Oh wow.
Basketball, like NBA, might have an over underline of 235. And so if
Mhm.
somebody goes in and knocks in a 3-pointer at the very end, then you take 3 divided by 235, and it's like a 1.2% chance of a single scoring play changing the outcome of a game.
Oh wow.
So basketball, 1.2% chance, hockey, 20% chance, and hockey's fluky anyways with puck bounces and hitting the pipe and deflections in front and whatever else.
Yeah.
So hockey is like 15 times more volatile than basketball just based on the scoring mechanism of the sport itself.
Mhm.
And so what we found out is basketball in particular seems to be the most repeatable
Mhm.
because there's so many points where things just get averaged out amongst, and it's the fidelity of the scoring mechanism is so much smaller than hockey, where it's just like a bouncy puck and it's changed the outcome. And soccer, which we don't do yet, although we've got a lot of asks for it, is even worse than hockey because you can have a 2-0 game or a 0-0 game or whatever. And I but the market's huge. I mean, the global
Yeah.
market's like, you Google AI sports picks or whatever, and we're number one on Google. That's not just in the
Damn,
US, that's
dude.
all over. And so
Yeah.
it's like, there's a huge football, soccer following that's also looking for AI sports picks.
Yeah.
And we don't have that yet. So anyway, it might be coming, but it's it's scary because it's so hard because the scoring is just, there's not a lot of goals scored.
But it's probably, you just throw enough data at it, maybe you get consistencies or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the other challenge we have too. Is it's just like, we're very much looking for long-term, long-minded clients with our product. So we're averaging things over months and years as opposed to like a day. And
Mhm.
so it drives me nuts, but we'll have people go and they'll sign up for the free trial and they'll have a bad day and they'll just like go write a bad review or something. And it's like, dude, okay, first off, you don't know anything about sports betting. And
Mhm.
second off, like, you got to at least try it for a month or for 2 months or for 3 months, because this is very much like it's a streaky thing. And like, you'll have good streaks and you'll have bad streaks. And over the long term, it'll average out to, what we've seen so far. It's like 55%.
Mhm.
And so I would imagine the same is true for hockey. Is it's just like you can have a bad run here and a bad run there, and if we got the algorithm tuned up for that over the long term, it would be okay.
Mhm.
But it's streaky, man, and it's emotional
Yeah.
too, right? You win a day and then you lose 4 days in a row, and all these people are upset and disgruntled and whatever. And it's like, dude, we're looking for like monthly and yearly clients who are willing to ride this thing through, because at the end of the day, like, streaks happen and fluky things happen and
Mhm.
stinking penalties and bad refs and whatever else, and you get a run of those, and
Mhm.
it hurts for that day.
Yeah. I mean, imagine it'd be cool if somebody who could do this to the stock market because that's really just legalized gambling when it comes down to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at your website, and you guys have posted a transparent live scorecard. I'm seeing net units after Vigorish, and it's a monthly breakdown. It shows a monthly plus or minus. Looks like you guys have had 3 down months, but the rest have been up, and you're
Yep.
up 187.5 for the year to date. Tell us what that means.
Yeah. So we calculate units based on a formula that's called the Kelly criterion, which
Mm-hmm.
has been around forever. It's a mathematical formula that calculates probability of win and payout odds into optimum percentage of bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
And so traditionally, it's 1%. It's 1 unit equals 1% of bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously say in all of our content, this is not a recommendation as to whether or how anyone should wager. This is just what the mathematical formula says the optimal bet could be based on this win probability.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, that's too aggressive. Like you can see one of the months, like April, we were down 64 units. So if I had $1,000 bankroll, I would have lost $640 following Remy's picks that month, which a lot of people, if I was doing 1% of bankroll equals 1 unit,
Wow.
which for a lot of people, that's too aggressive. So what we'll often see is like they'll do 0.5% equals 1 unit or 0.25% equals 1 unit, and it like tames out the volatility a little bit. But long story short, throughout the year, so, and actually this scorecard is only through November. So through December to date, we're now up 213 units after Vigorish. So what that is it calculates a flat -110 juice on spread picks and over-under picks on every single pick that goes out the door. And if someone was playing the 1% equals 1 unit equation, what it would mean is $1,000. If I started with $1,000 bankroll, I would have profited $2,100 throughout the year. So I would have more than doubled, or you can think of it as a percentage too. So it would have been plus 213% over the course of the year is what the units are. So anyway, it's been a fantastic year. One of the things we're trying to work on is the volatility. Like March was up 142 units and April was down 64. And so I would have rather seen March up 80 units and April down like 5 units as opposed to those big swings. And so we're trying to figure out why. I mean, April was the first time that Remy had seen the pitch clock. And so with MLB, the pitch clock introduced all of these variables into baseball that Remy had never seen before. And things with stealing bases and all kinds of just different odd things that threw it off for about a month and then it came back. But anyway, yeah, that's what a unit is. And it's, obviously I can't guarantee how the algorithm is going to do in the future. But I can say that in 2023, it had a really good year.
Oh, wow. There you go. Well, that's awesome, man. It sounds like a really good deal on how the whole thing's playing out for you, man. It's crazy. So, I mean, are any of these companies, is Vegas just going to have to, I don't know, they're going to have to figure out how to counter this stuff? I mean, is it possible? It seems impossible.
I think the only way to counter it is to blacklist individual bettors or to limit how much an individual bettor can wager. Because it's like I'm not the only one doing AI sports picks. There's more coming. Everyone's got their own flavor on it. We were kind of the first. We were working on this back in 2020. And so, it's long before ChatGPT or any kind of like the buzzy AI stuff was out. And so we actually got a jump on search results and rankings and some of that. But yeah, at some point it's just like, it's legal. We've spent a fortune on our attorneys trying to go through everything that we're doing and everything we're offering subscribers to make sure that we're above board and we're transparent. And there's nothing that the casinos can do that I'm aware of other than either buy us off, which we haven't got an offer yet, or try to limit individual bettors and just say, you've won too much from us. You can only bet $10 per game, which is exactly what they freaking did to me.
That is crazy, man. That is freaking crazy, man.
It drives me nuts.
Well, I mean, the best way to win, it sounds like, is to create your own AI company that can advise other people on how to win and charge for the money. So I think you made the right bet there finally. So there you go. So thank you very much for coming to the show. Give us your final pitch out to people for on board with you, try you out, how they can learn more about you guys.
Yeah. So one of the things that you'll notice in the sports handicapping industry in general is that most of the time the sports handicappers are asking for a huge amount of money up front. Trust us on our picks, trust us on our whatever. And that's why most of them are scams and grifters. So what we've done is we offer a 30-day free trial. You can sign up and just check out Remy's data for a month, Remy will release between 3 and 10 picks or leans per day, and they get emailed direct to your inbox. And then you can choose if you want to use that data in your own betting strategies or not. And then from there, if you want to continue after the 30 days, then it's $2.99 a month for access to Remy. I wish we could bring the price down a little bit, but AI is incredibly expensive to develop and maintain and keep fed with data and all of that stuff. So unfortunately, that's where our price point is right now. But yeah, it's kind of check it out for 30 days and see if you like it. And if Remy's helpful, then come on board with us after that. And the website is leans.ai. Or if you type in AI sports picks, AI sports betting, we're going to be one of the top ones that shows up.
That is crazy, man. That is awesome, though. Bring the power back to the man.
That's it. That's it.
Back from the man. Yeah. Bring it back to the average man, the everyday man. There you go. Yeah, you could have used this back in the day when there was mobsters running the stuff. Of course, they probably would have just found you and
found you and killed you. Yeah.
Thank God we made that illegal. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Steve. It's been fun to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it as well.
There you go. And thanks for and hey, you know what would be cool? An AI thing is if you can make it so an AI predictor that can tell people if their marriage is going to work or end in divorce. That would be worse.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
There you go. Thanks for tuning into my audience. Go to goodreads.com, Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com, Chris Voss, YouTube.com, Chris Voss. All those crazy places we are on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.